memories, childhood.
Hey vinyl community, what's going on? LJ, and I'm here to shoot an update video on some pretty cool stuff recently that I picked up and I wanted to share with everyone. So we get started right away with a couple of 80s releases from Crosby, Stills and Nash. This is Daylight again, bit of a misnomer with the Nash here. Well, this is a fantastic album. Graham Nash didn't actually participate too much here from the research I did. Actually, Art Garfunkel did some standing in here vocally, and the group really did a lot to kind of mask the fact that Nash was no longer here. But you know what this has? Wasted on the Way and Southern Cross. And Southern Cross is pretty damn well one of the best songs ever written and performed. An absolute classic. Check it out on YouTube if you're not familiar with it. This is just a fine 1982 release from Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Garfunkel. Another later Crosby, Stills and Nash LP is Allies, and this is something of a live recording. I believe there's a couple of studio tracks on here that are new, but this was culled together from performances in 82, 77, and 83. And some killer stuff here. I mean, like, For What It's Worth, classic Buffalo Springfield track, and a cover of McCartney's Blackbird. Really, it's a pretty good live album. I mean, it's not up there with the seminal ones, but it was cool. Fairport Conventions, Liege and Leaf. And this was just killer. This is my first Fairport Convention record. I'm familiar with them. My uncle used to listen to them a lot and tried to get me into them when I was a teenager, but I wasn't having it. I was kind of kissing Megadeth happy at the time. This is just very Scottish medieval imagery. Sandy Denny's voice is just haunting, and it's funny because it's on A&M. That's what my uncle used to say. Also, it's just, you know, he'd say, "LJ, listen to her voice. It's just so powerful." But I was just kind of I was too narrow-minded at the time. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, whatever. Okay, I'll listen to her. You listen to Dave Mustaine. I mean, that guy kicks ass. My uncle's like, open your eyes. And ready was. So off goes the collection of Fairport Convention, and just remember, it started with Legion Leaf. Killer. Highly recommended. As is one of my newest fascinations, the Marshall Tucker Band, and this is their debut LP. And I'll tell you how this became one of my newest fascinations. It was just mucking around on YouTube, watching videos, and I stumbled on somebody that had been playing Take the Highway. And I just fell in love with it right away. You know, if Jethro Tull, it's a comparison I keep using, is if Jethro Tull swung by the Allman Brothers' house and brought his flute with him, Ian Anderson brought his flute, you'd end up with the Marshall Tucker Band. So country rock with a Tull twist. Shit, it's just amazing. I freaking love it. I cannot stop listening to this. If you like either of those bands, check it out. Jefferson Airplane's Bark. Not a bad album. I don't think it was Airplane's best, in my opinion. This was, I think it was Marty Balin's last with the band for quite a while, or he's already out at this point. I should check my facts on that one, but the band was definitely kind of fractured and about to become Jefferson Starship. Other side projects had already begun at this point, Hot Tuna and individuals. So this is kind of referred to by some reviews as their White Album. Not in the sense that it's a sprawling masterpiece. It's not. It's not bad, but in the sense that there was a lot of individual contributions from the different band members. Don't go crazy picking it up. This one, Starship, Jefferson Starship's Red Octopus, that's a horse of a different color, a red color. Very cool album, very, very cool album. Marty Balin back in and responsible for the ballad Miracles on this album. And also right here is just a teenage Craig Chichico, teenage guitar player. He's pretty good too. And this is on the band's own Grunt label. Besides being an entry for the recent Ringwear thread, it's a seriously cool Jefferson Starship LP. I was very blown away by it. Highly recommended for anyone that's not familiar with it. Now we get into what I'm going to call some of the better stuff. This is Leon Russell's Carney, and despite having some damage on the cover and cat hair, which kind of really sucks, I've been looking for a copy of Carney without using eBay for such a long time. Leon Russell I stumbled into within the last year or two with his Shelter People band. But Carney just blew me away. Just by cover alone, looking a whole lot like Rob Zombie here. But it's Leon Russell's portrayal of life of an American carnival worker on the road, hence the Carney, which is what they're known as, for those that aren't as familiar with the term. And just, I don't know, the whole mystique of the whole thing just amazed me. What is it like for a Carney and working in a sideshow or a carnival that travels around, and what makes up, because that's kind of, I mean, it's fun and familiar as a kid, but carnivals are kind of scary. They're full of some really weird and bizarre and odd people, and you come into contact with them just for brief minutes, and then they fade away into their trailers or whatever. And if anyone was right to bring that to the surface, it's definitely Leon Russell. Killer LP. Side 1 is a little more grounded and just straightforward pop. Side 2, very psychedelic and spacey. Very cool stuff. Let me censor the front of this. Blind Faith needs absolutely no introduction, except that it's now finally being introduced to my collection. I've had poor quality copies. This is just stunning. So most of us all know or are familiar with this is Eric Clapton, Steve Winwood, Ginger Baker. Just a quick shot at a supergroup, the only album they ever did, blah, 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 blah. So familiar. But this also has the one song that has ever just stopped me dead in my tracks and brought tears to my eyes, and it's Can't Find My Way Home. And over the years, I was scared of that song for a little while because the effect or the impact it had on me is just absolutely stunning, amazing. And it's just Steve Winwood's haunting vocals in that song that are amazing, because I've heard Eric Clapton play that live in the past and have it on a couple of LPs. It just doesn't have the same effect. So, an absolute essential record. Some Pink Floyd and some Rolling Stones. I picked up Pink Floyd's Relics, a bizarre collection of antiques and curios, and that it is. From the cover right down to the material, kind of a collection of B-sides, soundtrack material from Floyd. Very early, it has some material from Piper at the Gates of Dawn, the soundtrack from the film More, and I see Bike and Biding My Time from Piper at the Gates of Dawn. I got me just an early Floyd comp. I think this was from '71. Obscured by Clouds was one that's long been missing. Music from the film is it The Valley, right? La Vallée. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly in French. This just before Dark Side of the Moon, being worked on in parallel with the band Flute of France for a couple of weeks to score or record the music for the film. And this is just friggin' amazing. I really haven't heard this since high school with a real clean set of ears. So I do remember it, and it was familiar to me, but it just blew me away and was even better than I remembered. Also, picked up Floyd's A Nice Pair. For those that are familiar or those that aren't, this is Piper at the Gates of Dawn and A Saucer Full of Secrets. Floyd's first two releases with Syd Barrett. It also has some extras. It's on Artist. And I guess this is Hypnosis, kind of unused album covers is what we have here. Like this, and symbolic images. There's a fork, so this represents a fork in the road. And so forth. I think there's an image of a nude woman with her breasts behind the sticker. It's obscuring it, but that would be A Nice Pair. Overall, just a killer LP. Two LPs, I'm sorry, double set. This was the best way for me to own Piper at the Gates of Dawn right now. It's just one of those records, and anybody that's looked for it knows you just can't find it for, 50, 60, 75 bucks or less. And so for now, it's mint. I mean, the records anyway. So for now, this is my Piper at the Gates of Dawn, and it is my Saucer Full of Secrets. And again, it has some extra releases from Amagama, a single Flaming that was never released before. Very killer early Pink Floyd. Not my favorite Floyd period, but for the price I picked it up for, I couldn't say no. Motown's White Answer to The Temptations. That's just the review I read. Rare Earth and Ecology, just fantastic early 70s rock from the Motown offshoot label Rare Earth, named for the band themselves. Just some great early 70s rock, reminiscent to some degree of Vanilla Fudge for me, just not so organ heavy and psychedelic. This is Ecology, and there's a cover here of Eleanor Rigby. And this is Rare Earth's One World, with a cover of What I'd Say by Ray Charles. Both highly recommended if you're into early 70s rock. And saving the best for me for last is the next 5 are 5 Rolling Stones pickups that I happily now add to my collection. First is Early Stones, Out of Our Heads, and this is a damn near mint. These are all actually really close to mint as I've ever seen. Stereo London copies, London pressings of Out of Our Heads. December's Children. This is definitely my favorite of the early Stones LPs, and this is mono copy. I believe that's the red label, right? Mono copy, London mono copy. Again, still early Stones, a live compilation. The Stones kind of put together with Got Live If You Want It. And I think this one is notorious for the band actually, or producers, adding background noise, audience background noise, to real live studio tracks. This disc. The last 2 start with Flowers, and this is where the Stones began to become, for me, the Stones. Bear in mind, I didn't live through it. I was born in '76, right? So I can only look back retrospectively. But my favorite period for the Stones is the period that starts with Flowers, and they're no longer that R&B band. They're a bit different, they're maturing. And what would follow, right, is Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed, Exile on Main Street, Sticky Fingers, all these seminal, epic albums. And I think the foundation is right here for me in Flowers. And Flowers is amazing. It kicks off with Ruby Tuesday and Never Lets Up. I absolutely love this album. And the last is what for me is the Rolling Stones' best live LP, and that's Get Your Ya-Ya's Out. Again, just as damn near mint as possible. We have just a killer song set: Sympathy for the Devil, Street Fighting Man, Midnight Rambler. Highly, highly recommended. Recorded live in 1969 at Madison Square Garden. Again, those 5 just highly welcome additions to my collection. I got them for a very fair price, and they're all about as close to mint as I ever see for classic Stones pressings. That's it for me. That's a quick update for those that are still here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting. It's always great to hear from everybody. I'm going to try to see if I can't put together a thread response now for Big Star's 90s thread, which is killing me to come up with albums, and also the most ring-wear record cover. I think I have a few in mind. That's it for me for tonight anyway, so thanks for watching, and guys, I'll catch up with you all soon. Take care. Ciao.